Well, it is time yet again for a team to clinch the playoffs, and I'm making a video on them. And this time around, it is the Dallas Stars being that team that has clinched. It took a little bit before another team was going to be able to clinch a playoff spot because Washington and Winnipeg are just that far ahead of everyone else. But now that we're in this stage where it's like April tomorrow, it's the last day of March. We saw there's chances of teams clinching yesterday. There's a team that can clinch today. We are going to be having a lot of teams clinch over the next couple of weeks. So the Dallas Stars were the third team to clinch a playoff spot. They have a record of 48, 21, and 4 for 100 points. They are third in the National Hockey League, and they have a .685 points percentage. They have scored 251 goals, have allowed 188. They are 27, 7, and 2 at home, and they are 21, 14, and 2 on the road. So, another very good season from the Dallas Stars. I mean, I don't really have a ton of thoughts on the Stars. This is what we expected, to be honest with you. This is what we expected out of Dallas, to have this great of a season, and they're doing it here right now. They're going to peak at 50 wins, possibly 55 if they want to win out. They're top 3 in the NHL. They will have home ice advantage in the first round. They're very good at home. They're very good on the road. It seems like the goaltending's working out. The offense is working great. Even the defense is playing pretty well as well. So they're in a very good spot considering the circumstances. However, I do have a couple of thoughts involving individual players on this team, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But overall, for the team as a whole, I think this really can be their year. I think this can be their year to finally break through from that Western Conference Finals and get into the Stanley Cup Finals. So I think it's something that's very possible, and I think we might even see that within the next couple of months. Again, because the playoffs are in like a month, less than a month at this point. So let's get into the individual scores, starting off with Mikko Rantanen, who was obviously traded there midseason, so not all of his stats are with the Dallas Stars, but this season he has 73 games played, 31 goals, 50 assists for 81 points. Rantanen has been great this year. He was really good under Colorado. He was okay under Carolina and has been a point per game under the Dallas Stars. He seems like he has found his mesh there with the team. Again, I think it's rather unlikely we see him get around another 100-point year, at least this year. Definitely not going to reach that unless if he gets like 11 points or 19 points or however many he needs within the next couple of games. It's rather unlikely that we see that happen, but it's not impossible, I guess. But then again, I'm not holding my breath for it to happen, as some other people may be. But again, 30-goal scorer. He leads the team in assists, leads the team in points. I think there's a lot of credit to go around with that. Jason Robertson, second in scoring. Now, all of his stats have been with the Dallas Stars. 73 games played, 33 goals, 42 assists for 75 points. Those 33 goals are the team lead, so he leads the team in goals. What's interesting about Dallas and what you're going to see, they have 6 players who are scoring above a 60-point range, all of them being forwards. So, the fact that all of your forwards are scoring at that rate, and additionally there as well, you have guys in the second, on the third and fourth line that can score additional depth as well, and then you have those 6 forwards who are all playing super well. It bodes really good for the Dallas Stars and shows just like how good and how deep this overall offensive core really is. I like Robertson. He definitely struggled at the beginning of the season, and there were people who were like, I don't know. But especially recently, he has kind of come out of that slump. I think a lot of it was just missing Joe Pavelski. Pavelski was a big part of why Robertson really grew into the player he was, and just not having him, it definitely affects the roster for sure. So overall, I think that Robertson, he's in a good spot. He's had a good season so far this year, and I hope that that will continue into the playoffs as well. Matt Duchene, second in scoring, third in scoring, 73 games played, 28 goals, 46 assists for 74 points. Again, he has been really good this year as well, playing in that second first line role. He's been very effective, and a guy who's really not paid that much. He makes like $3 million. I think maybe 4 at this point. He made 3 his first year, but he's getting paid very little to no money whatsoever, and he's putting up the numbers that he's putting up. He's over a point per game, which is phenomenal, to be honest with you. It's actually pretty sick to see how he's been, especially since leaving Nashville. It's been an incredible fit in Dallas, and we'll hope that continues moving forward into the Stanley Cup playoffs, where Duchesne has struggled at points, but he was pretty good last year, I would say. Wyatt Johnston, who was locked up to a contract at the trade deadline, and it's a pretty good contract. At the end of that deal, Johnston is going to make a lot of money. 73 games played, 29 goals, 37 assists for 66 points. Johnston's been a very effective player. He's one of those younger guys as well, a part of that core. What's crazy, too, is that most of the players who are leading the way for Dallas, like Robertson, Johnston, Hintz, you got Thomas Harley as well, Heiskanen, even like a guy like Mikko Rantanen, like they're all relatively young. So you're going to have this Dallas Stars team in a very contention spot for the next 4 to 5 years at least. So we're going to be talking about Dallas for a while here in terms of them possibly going on and winning multiple Stanley Cups. We'll see. But I think that just shows how young and really talented this core is, and how these guys have really built themselves around for so long. It's impressive to see how Jim Nill's done a really good job at putting this team together. All these guys obviously were there when he came in, but I think overall just, having that whole core and drafting really good in the draft and getting some later round picks to really help this team, I think has definitely benefited the Stars in the long run for sure. Roope Hintz, 67 games played, 27 goals, 37 assists, 64 points. Hintz, I mean, when you miss a little bit more games than everybody else, your totals are going to be down a little bit, but still basically right there at point per game. I have no complaints there with Hintz whatsoever. He's been very effective. We know how he can be as a good first-line center. I think he's been very effective, and I definitely do think that will continue into the Stanley Cup playoffs as well. Mikael Granlund, another player that they acquired midway through the trade deadline. 74 games played, 19 goals, 42 assists for 61 points. Granlund has been very good this season, was a pretty good acquisition for the Stars. Again, you did give up a first-round pick, but I don't think you're really complaining. Granlund, I think, has been a pretty good fit there. I said it when Granlund was traded to Dallas. If you're going to play Granlund, you have to play him in your top six, because if he is playing a limited role and playing like third, fourth line minutes, I don't think he can be as effective as he could be. And I think that showed in the time he had it with Pittsburgh. I think that was a big factor there. They expected Granlund to be that kind of player, and he's just not. So that's something with Granlund there that I do look at. But again, that is 6 players right there with more than 60 points on the year. And I think for a team like that, to have 6 guys from your forward core to have that amount, I think is just, it's very, very, very impressive. Thomas Harley, 7th in scoring, first and only defenseman on the board. 71 games played, 15 goals, 32 assists for 47 points. Again, Harley came from Dallas in the Four Nations, played very well over there, and I think since coming back to Dallas has been very talented and very effective. Again, we know what Harley can be. He's really become an underrated pickup for Dallas on that back end, and I think overall it's something that Dallas is very thankful for. Now, here's a problem that I do have. Moving into the first round, they're likely going to play Colorado, which in its own is a shame, because you're going to see one of two really good, really talented teams who in any other year could both of them go to the Western Conference Finals. One of them is going to get knocked out in the first round. And it's unfortunate, but that's how the playoffs work. They're going to be down Miro Heiskanen for that. They are not going to have Heiskanen, more likely than not. It seemed like they were going to have him for the playoffs, but now it's looking more and more like he's going to miss at least the first round, maybe more. And I think that's a big loss for Dallas. That is a detrimental loss to that Dallas Stars team, because, again, that is your number one defenseman. As good as Thomas Harley is, not having Heiskanen is a problem. It is. But when you have Heiskanen, it is a problem as well. But not for you. Jamie Benn, 8th in scoring, 73 games played, 16 goals, 29 assists for 45 points. I think Jamie Benn's also been good this season too. Again, like, the production is still somewhat there, to be honest. Like, he's still producing at a pretty decent rate. He's still top 10 in scoring. Just it isn't there from when he was obviously, in the playoffs, and the team was talented and he was younger, but it still is there a little bit. I think that brings a little bit to it too, because Jamie Benn is in a contract year, and this is kind of like his last year possibly of being in the NHL and being with the Dallas Stars, because we have heard rumors of him possibly moving on and the Stars moving on from him, which would be unfortunate. So I think that adds a little bit more to it this year, in a sense that there's more to fight for, because this may be your captain's last year in the NHL. So, yeah, and again, with Tyler Seguin, too, there's that similar thing. I know Sagan's been injured most of the time, but it still is there. Jake Ottinger is their number one goaltender, and I will say this, Ottinger, it feels like, has kind of come back. There was a little bit of a stretch in time there where, Ottinger wasn't the greatest, and there was some questions of, can Ottinger really lead this team? And I think that seeing how he's been this season, I think he definitely can. 35, 15, and 3, a 2.47 goals against average, and a .911 save percentage. I think Ottinger has been awesome this season. Hasn't been anything like insanely special, like he's not leading in save percentage or anything like that, but I think he's still been a very effective goaltender, and he's proved that he can be that Stars goaltender. And I've had some doubts the last 2 seasons, but I think this year he's definitely panned himself out and has looked very solid, at least in the regular season. We'll see how he is in the playoffs. Again, my biggest qualm with Dallas is that blue line. It already wasn't as strong as it is, but, not having Miro Heiskanen is going to be a problem. But overall, we'll have to see how it is, but they have a very good goalie in that. They also have a pretty good backup. Casey DeSmith has not played as much games, but a 13-6-1 record, a 2.37 goals against average, and a .919 save percentage. I think DeSmith has been nothing short of solid in Dallas, just as serviceable. He's a serviceable backup. Will come in there and play games for you every now and then. So you got to take that if you're Dallas. You just want a backup who can, come in there and replace Ottinger for a little bit. You can't complain. You cannot complain. But that being said, it's another year where Dallas is trying to get past the Eastern Conference or the Western Conference Final and get into the Stanley Cup Final for the first time since 2020. Again, we have made many videos on Dallas. We have talked about Dallas many times. I think this can be the year that they do get it done, but I also think this could be a year too where they do kind of take a little bit of a step back, because again, they're playing Colorado in the first round. You're likely going to play either Winnipeg or St. Louis in the second round. Both of them hot. I think Dallas can get it done, but it's going to be a big climb there against Colorado in the first round. It's again, it really is just a shame that those are the two teams that are facing off in the West. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave the video down below, and please do consider subscribing to join the community that we are building here on this channel. New episode of the Nordcast is out now. New episode of the MVP will be out tomorrow. And that is it for us. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.